The hip-hop world just erupted, and it's not even about music this time. It's about trust, loyalty, and the street code being thrown out the window. Marc Lamont didn't hold back when he put Queenzflip on blast, accusing him of dry snitching and openly bragging about getting special treatment. In a culture that prides itself on authenticity and keeping your business off the timeline, calling someone a snitch is the ultimate insult. But what made this even more explosive was the claim that Queenzflip thinks he's untouchable, getting favors and perks that the rest of the streets don't see. The reaction has been immediate and brutal. Social media is buzzing with comments, reposts, and debates about whether Marc Lamont is right or if Queenzflip was just exaggerating. Fans are dissecting every word, every clip, every caption. In hip-hop, reputation is everything. Once that trust is broken, it's nearly impossible to repair. By going public, Marc has essentially lit a fuse under Queenzflip's credibility, and the fallout is inevitable. People aren't just talking about the accusation. They're talking about the message it sends to the streets, to the culture, and to anyone watching who believes loyalty is currency. This isn't just drama for clout. It's a warning shot, a reminder that in the game, actions have consequences, and words like snitch can change everything. Queenzflip's next move could either save his reputation or destroy it completely. And the world is watching. As the dust settled from Marc Lamont viral callout, Queenzflip finally broke his silence. Instead of an immediate fiery response, he opted for a video statement on Instagram Live, the camera rolling from what appeared to be his home studio. From the very first second, it was clear he was carefully measuring every word, conscious that any misstep could escalate the situation further. He acknowledged Marc's comments, but framed them as misinterpretations, emphasizing that while he had connections and opportunities that others might not, it wasn't a matter of getting special treatment. According to Queenzflip, what Marc saw as privilege was often hard work, networking, and persistence, things anyone in the industry could achieve if they put in the effort. Despite his composed demeanor, the tension was palpable. Fans dissected his every gesture, every pause, every word. Some argued that his explanation was genuine, highlighting the grind he had endured to reach his position. Others claimed it was defensive posturing, a thin veil over what they still saw as dry snitching tendencies. The phrase dry snitching had now become the centerpiece of countless debates, with Twitter threads and YouTube breakdowns dedicated entirely to analyzing Queenzflip's past actions and statements. Meanwhile, Marc Lamont wasn't backing down. On his social platforms, he doubled down on the original accusations, releasing a series of posts that outlined specific instances where Queenzflip allegedly compromised others. Marc painted a picture of a man who, knowingly or unknowingly, blurred the lines between loyalty and self-preservation, creating a perception in the community that he operated under a separate set of rules. This narrative resonated deeply in certain corners of hip-hop culture, where street credibility and trust are often valued more than chart positions or record deals. The conflict began to pull in other artists and influencers, each staking a position in what was quickly turning into a full-blown cultural debate. Rappers who had previously collaborated with Queenzflip were now questioned by fans, asked if they condoned or ignored his alleged behavior. Some offered public statements defending him, citing his musical talent and contributions to their projects. Others remained silent, letting the speculation and tension fester. This silence was interpreted in multiple ways, either as tacit approval of Marc's claims or as careful strategy to avoid being caught in the crossfire. One key moment that intensified the situation was a leaked group chat conversation, supposedly between Queenzflip and a few close collaborators, where he discussed an ongoing legal dispute and referenced handling things differently than most. While vague, social media users interpreted it as evidence of the special treatment Marc mentioned. Screenshots circulated quickly, generating a frenzy of comments and shares. Memes, reaction videos, and debate clips flooded platforms, turning a personal beef into a viral phenomenon. The hashtag #drysnitching became a top trend, and with it, Queenzflip's name dominated feeds across the country. At the same time, Marc Lamont Hill strategically released an interview with a popular hip-hop podcast, giving a detailed account of why he spoke out. He discussed the impact of dry snitching on communities, the importance of accountability, and the danger of allowing perceived privilege to create divisions. He emphasized that his goal wasn't to destroy Queenzflip's career, but to uphold a principle deeply rooted in the culture: loyalty and transparency are non-negotiable. By framing the narrative in terms of community ethics rather than personal vendetta, Marc gained additional support from both street voices and mainstream commentators. Queenzflip responded to the backlash with a mixture of subtle posts and indirect messaging. He shared snippets of new music and behind-the-scenes clips from studio sessions, positioning himself as focused on his craft and unbothered by the controversy. Fans interpreted this as either confidence or avoidance. Every move he made was scrutinized, from social media interactions to who he was photographed with. Some online commentators accused him of using his silence as a shield, while others praised his composure, suggesting that responding emotionally would have only amplified the issue. The media coverage soon extended beyond social platforms. Hip-hop news outlets, YouTube channels, and podcasts ran multi-part series breaking down every angle of the feud. Interviews with industry insiders revealed the delicate balance between street credibility and public image, emphasizing that in hip-hop, perception often carries as much weight as reality. Analysts highlighted that Marc's reputation as a social commentator gave his accusations added legitimacy, while Queenzflip's silence and indirect responses created an environment where speculation could thrive. As the debate raged, a deeper conversation emerged about accountability in hip-hop. Fans and artists debated whether the culture of loyalty should be absolute or if it was realistic to expect everyone to operate under strict codes. Some argued that Marc's point was necessary, emphasizing that unchecked privilege or influence can erode trust in communities. Others suggested that the industry's current state makes accusations like these inevitable, as artists navigate legal, financial, and social pressures simultaneously. Behind the scenes, tension built among mutual connections. Producers, managers, and collaborators found themselves caught between two powerful narratives. Some reached out to both sides privately, attempting to mediate and de-escalate, while others took the opportunity to leverage the situation for their own visibility. It became clear that this was not just about Marc and Queenzflip. It was a cultural moment reflecting broader issues in hip-hop about ethics, loyalty, and influence. The feud reached a new level when a controversial video surfaced online, showing Queenzflip in a conversation that fans interpreted as contradicting his previous explanations. The clip was short but explosive, reigniting the dry snitching debate and fueling the fire on social media. Within hours, hashtags proliferated, reaction videos multiplied, and commentary escalated. For Queenzflip, this was a critical juncture. His next moves would determine whether he could regain trust or if the controversy would define his public image. Marc Lamont Hill seized the moment to double down once again, posting analytical threads detailing why trust matters more than fame or influence. He reminded his audience that in hip-hop, public perception and street credibility often outweigh legal or financial victories. By contextualizing Queenzflip's behavior in terms of ethics rather than personal animosity, Marc reinforced his credibility and positioned himself as a principled voice in a community hungry for accountability. By the end of the month, the story had evolved into a case study in modern hip-hop culture, the collision of social media, street ethics, and music business dynamics. Queenzflip faced not only public scrutiny, but also the strategic challenge of managing his career while addressing or avoiding the controversy. Marc Lamont Hill, meanwhile, had successfully set a narrative in motion that would continue to shape perceptions for months, if not years. In communities, forums, and online comment sections, the question lingered: could Queenzflip recover from being labeled a dry snitch? Some believed redemption was possible through genuine actions and public accountability, while others thought the label would stick indefinitely, shaping every future collaboration, deal, and interaction. The feud had transcended a personal dispute. It had become a cultural conversation, sparking debates about loyalty, ethics, and survival in the modern rap landscape. As social media continued to churn, the battle lines remained clear. Marc Lamont Hill represented accountability and ethics, a reminder that the streets and the industry have codes that cannot be ignored. Queenzflip embodied the complexity of navigating fame, perception, and history, where every action is scrutinized and misinterpretation can spread like wildfire. The story wasn't over, it was evolving, a live narrative that would influence careers, alliances, and reputations in the months to come. As the feud entered its third month, the tension between Marc Lamont Hill and Queenzflip evolved beyond social media posts and live videos. Industry insiders began weighing in more publicly, each adding context and nuance to the growing narrative. What started as a sharp critique about dry snitching and perceived privilege had grown into a larger conversation about trust, accountability, and the consequences of navigating fame under a microscope. Queenzflip's strategy shifted from direct responses to more subtle approaches. He focused on his music releases, dropping singles and teasers with cryptic references that fans interpreted as indirect replies to Marc. Every lyric was dissected, every verse analyzed. Social media users debated whether he was acknowledging the accusations or simply using the controversy to drive streams and engagement. Some argued it was brilliant marketing, while others saw it as evasive, a refusal to truly address the allegations. Meanwhile, Marc maintained a calculated presence. He released a series of analytical posts and podcasts dissecting the importance of integrity in hip-hop culture. His audience appreciated the consistency of his message. Accountability isn't optional, and public figures have a responsibility to consider how their actions impact the broader community. By framing the conversation in terms of cultural ethics rather than personal attack, Marc reinforced his credibility and widened his influence beyond just the initial beef. The feud also had real-life consequences. Collaborators who had previously worked with Queenzflip began reassessing partnerships. Some distanced themselves publicly, wary of being associated with controversy, while others quietly tried to mediate. Producers, managers, and label executives recognized that perception often dictated opportunity in the industry. Being linked to a controversy could either elevate or end a career. Every post, comment, and interview carried weight, affecting not just the two main figures, but everyone in their orbit. At the same time, the conversation spread internationally. Fans and hip-hop communities around the world began engaging, debating whether Marc's critique was justified or if Queenzflip had been unfairly targeted. The hashtag #DrySnitching remained active, appearing in discussions from New York to London to Tokyo. Analysts noted that the debate highlighted an ongoing tension between the public's demand for accountability and the personal survival strategies artists adopt in a complex, high-stakes industry. Queenzflip eventually released a more direct statement, addressing the controversy head-on. He admitted that some past choices could be misinterpreted and that he understood why people reacted the way they did. However, he reiterated that his success was earned through hard work, networking, and navigating challenges that many could not comprehend. He expressed regret over actions that might have caused harm or confusion, but maintained that accusations of snitching were exaggerated or taken out of context. Marc Lamont Hill responded by acknowledging the statement, but he did not fully back down. He used the opportunity to emphasize the broader point. The issue wasn't merely about Queenzflip, but about the cultural values and ethical standards that guide hip-hop communities. Marc highlighted that accountability and trust are foundational, especially when artists operate as influential figures in communities where reputation can literally mean life or death. His approach kept the conversation focused on principles rather than personal attacks, elevating the debate to a cultural critique. The media's coverage reflected this shift. Articles, podcasts, and video essays explored not only the specific feud, but the systemic issues it represented: how street ethics intersect with celebrity culture, how social media amplifies controversies, and how loyalty and integrity continue to be tested in the modern music industry. Commentators debated whether Queenzflip's approach, balancing acknowledgement with strategic silence, would ultimately preserve his career or permanently tarnish his reputation. Despite the intensity, some resolution began to emerge. Queenzflip's team worked to strengthen relationships with collaborators, issuing statements of clarification and scheduling joint appearances to demonstrate unity. Marc Lamont Hill continued his commentary, but also highlighted positive examples within the industry, showing that accountability and success were not mutually exclusive. Fans on both sides gradually shifted focus to music releases, performances, and upcoming collaborations, allowing the conversation to settle into a more constructive discourse. Yet, the impact of the feud lingered. Queenzflip had to navigate a fine line, maintaining his credibility, rebuilding trust where it was eroded, and ensuring that future actions could withstand public scrutiny. Marc Lamont Hill, on the other hand, solidified his role as a cultural commentator unafraid to challenge popular figures when principles were at stake. Both men emerged with their reputations intact in different ways, but the episode had left an indelible mark on the community. In hindsight, the feud exemplified the complexities of modern hip-hop culture. It was not merely about accusations or defense, it was a reflection of broader dynamics, how artists balance personal ambition, street credibility, and public perception in an era of instantaneous global communication. Loyalty, integrity, and accountability were tested in real time, and the consequences were felt by everyone involved. Ultimately, the saga concluded with a mix of resolution and caution. Queenzflip continued to release music and rebuild relationships, but with an awareness that every action would be scrutinized. Marc Lamont Hill's message of accountability persisted as a reference point for future discussions about ethics in the community. The feud may have ended, but its lessons remained. In hip-hop, perception and principle are as powerful as any track or record deal, and navigating both requires strategy, awareness, and a willingness to confront uncomfortable truths. For the fans, the drama offered both entertainment and reflection. Social media threads and podcasts continued to dissect the events, examining how fame, ethics, and personal choices intersect. Some viewed Queenzflip's journey as a cautionary tale about transparency and public perception, while others appreciated the nuance, recognizing that mistakes and misunderstandings are part of growth. In the end, the Marc Lamont Hill versus Queenzflip story became more than a feud. It was a case study in culture, ethics, and accountability. It reminded everyone that hip-hop is not just music, it's a living community where every action carries meaning and reputation is currency. For those watching closely, the saga served as both a warning and a lesson. Navigating the streets of fame requires more than talent. It demands integrity, awareness, and the courage to face criticism head-on. As the dust settled, both men charted their paths forward. Queenzflip focused on his craft and rebuilding trust. Marc Lamont Hill continued to speak truth to power, shaping conversations and highlighting ethical responsibility. The feud became a reference point for future generations, a reminder of the delicate balance between fame, accountability, and community values in modern hip-hop. Now that you've seen the full story unfold, the accusations, the drama, and the cultural debate, here's where you come in. What do you think about Queenzflip's actions and Marc Lamont Hill calling him out? Was this a case of accountability finally being demanded, or do you think the situation got blown out of proportion? Drop your thoughts in the comments below and let your voice be heard. If you're a fan of hip-hop culture, street ethics, and the behind-the-scenes drama that the mainstream media doesn't always show, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Don't miss future updates, breakdowns, and exclusive insights into the hottest controversies shaping the music industry today. And for those who want even more, turn on notifications so you'll be the first to know when we drop the next part of the story, including reactions from fans, insiders, and the artists themselves. Trust me, you won't want to miss what happens next. Finally, if you found this breakdown eye-opening, smash that like button. It helps the channel grow and ensures more people get the full picture. Share this video with friends, family, or anyone who's into hip-hop drama and street culture. It's the conversation everyone's talking about. Your opinion matters. Your engagement matters. Join the discussion, get informed, and be part of the community that's not afraid to ask the hard questions. The story doesn't end here, it's just getting started.